Learn how businesses, the government, and environmentalists are working together to shape South Carolina's future. We'll tell you all about it coming up next on Carolina People. Good morning. Welcome to Carolina People. This morning we're at the House of Blues in North Myrtle Beach. We're focused on the 12th Annual South Carolina Environmental Symposium, and we're visiting with Graham Edwards, the chairman of the board of Santee Cooper. Good morning, Graham.
Good morning, Greg.
Thanks so much for being with us this morning.
Thank you. Thank you very much for the opportunity.
Incredible opportunity. Of course, we had you on about 3 weeks ago to focus on your role as co-chair of the 12th Annual American Heart Walk in memory of Ashby Ward. And now to get you back 3 weeks later to focus on something else that's been around 12 years, albeit not in memory of Ashby Ward, but something that's been making a dramatic difference in South Carolina and in its environment. This is big.
It really is. And Greg, we are, Santee Cooper is very pleased to be a part of this. And in fact, 12 years ago, this was the brainchild of the then current chairman, John Rainey of Santee Cooper. Mm-hmm. And John, along with representatives from the University of South Carolina and some environmental groups, we got together and started this symposium. And the whole purpose is to bring business, government, and environmental leadership together to solve environmental problems in a business-like way. And we've always said that you've got to balance the quality and the quantities of our life, and that starts with the environment.
What are some of those environmental challenges? I know we'll talk about this later this morning, but what are some of those environmental challenges that would come to people's mind or that wouldn't come to their mind they need to be thinking about?
Sure. Well, of course, the ones that come to our minds along the Grand Strand, of course, are the wetlands issues. But then we are in a Class 1 area for air pollution with Cape Romaine. And Class 1 is the most restricted area from an environmental perspective, so air emissions are important. Water quality is important. There's various issues, legislative issues that come to play, and those are the kinds of topics that will be discussed. How can we solve air pollution, water pollution, wetlands issues, both with government, business, environmentalists working together?
Mm-hmm. How exciting. Well, I can't wait to learn more about it. Graham, for viewers who may not have called you when you were with us in June out at Santee Cooper, or earlier last month when we were here at the House of Blues, focused on the kickoff luncheon for the Heart Walk, share with the viewers a little bit about yourself. Were you originally from the area?
I grew up in Sherall, and I have been in South Carolina all my life. I was educated at Francis Marion University and then Citadel, and spent my career with Santee Cooper. And fortunately for me, I feel honored that Governor Sanford asked me to come back to Santee Cooper and serve as chairman of the board, which I've been since April of this year.
And how is the board made up, Graham? Is that just on the coast, or is it throughout the entire state?
No, it's throughout the entire state. We have 11 members on the board. There are 6 members, 1 from each congressional district. Mm-hmm. Then there's 1 member from each of the 3 counties, Berkeley, Horry, and Georgetown counties, that we have direct service territory in. And then there's 1 member that must have electric cooperative experience, since we serve all the co-ops in the state. And then the chairman is appointed at large. So there's 11 members that is appointed by the governor upon advice and consent of the Senate.
Okay. Graham, do you have a family here in our viewing area?
I do. My mom and dad and my in-laws still live in Sherall, and I get back there periodically. And my wife and I, we reside in Moncks Corner. We have a home here in Horry County as well. Mm-hmm. Then I have a daughter here that lives in Horry County also.
Yes, Courtney, who we came in contact with for the first time I did as it related to the Heart Walk. She's been instrumental, I think, as one of the leaders in helping to bring the industries together in Horry and Georgetown County to really get them involved in the walk. She has been jamming.
Well, of course, I'm a little biased, but I think she's been doing well. So.
Yes, she has. When did you first join Santee Cooper, Graham?
Greg, I went there. I was hired in March of 1977, and as I said, I spent my entire career there. And had held various positions, and the last 7 years I was there was president and CEO. So
that's fantastic. What's it like starting with a company? Of course, you were coming out of your business school, getting your MBA there at the Citadel. What's it like starting with a company in '77 and then 15 years later being at the helm. It's
You know,
a huge company, Graham.
It's a huge company, and I've always said, Greg, I'd really be lucky than good because there are a lot of people at Santee Cooper that were a lot smarter than I, and for some reason, the opportunity came my way, and it really was a very rewarding experience. But let me tell you, what made it real rewarding were the employees at Santee Cooper. They were always very supportive, and having grown up with most of them, it was very supportive environment. And I just can't say enough about the organization.
Mm-hmm. Graham, how did the utility change during your 23-year tenure there? Of course, and then leaving and now coming back to the family as chairman of the board. What were some of the big changes that occurred?
I think growth was the biggest change, but also deregulation in the wholesale marketplace. It used to be that utilities would work together, and if we needed generation and we were short, then SCANA or Duke Energy would sell it to us at a very reasonable price. But today, utilities charge whatever the market will bear. And I think that deregulation on the wholesale environment has changed, been the biggest change in our industry. And a lot of states have tried retail deregulation, and the state of California being the first and foremost, and that's an example of how not to do it. So we within the state of South Carolina, we're very fortunate because all the utilities that serve in the state have very economically priced power and a very stable and reliable power supply.
These seem like such foreign terms to so many folks, Graham. We're talking about, I mean, you know, I want to flip on my light switch at home or prepare for interviews this morning. I mean, it is just needing the lights. I mean, there's much more to it than that.
It is, and really when you look at it, the infrastructure that we have in our economy is really driven by electricity, and many people take it for granted and don't realize how important it really is until the lights go out. And then, you know, you let a hurricane come through or whatever, or the blackout that happened in mid-August in the Northeast and Midwest, then people realize how important electricity really is.
Mm-hmm. You think about hospitals and their need for proper electricity all the time.
Hospitals, municipal pumping stations for water sewer projects, residential consumers that are on life support systems. Mm-hmm. You know, when their lights go out, there are real problems, and there lies another opportunity for utilities to provide services for backup power, for backup generation, for businesses, for hospitals, to ensure that they have a continuous power supply in the event of storms or whatever the disaster may be.
Mm-hmm. For viewers in the PD or in southeastern North Carolina, real quick, Graham, Santee Cooper, what is that?
It is in form, it is a state agency. In substance, it's an electric utility company. Mm-hmm. We generate, transmit, and distribute electricity similar to what SCANA, Progress Energy, and Duke Energy does. Mm-hmm. The majority of our energy is served to the electric cooperatives in the state that span throughout the state of South Carolina, mm-hmm. and there are 20 of them. So they're a complete power supplier for all the electrical needs. And they serve some 650,000 consumers, which, if you do the math and assume 2.5 people per household or whatever, you're looking at basically 1/3 of the state's population receives Santee Cooper power.
But your power also goes to all 46 counties.
Exactly right.
Amazing.
Exactly right.
That is amazing. Real quick, the recent power failure that you mentioned a second ago that happened in mid-August, 6 weeks ago, also affected Canada. Did it affect South Carolina? Did it impact Santee Cooper?
We saw it on our system, but it really did not impact us. We were able to isolate it and stabilize, but we saw a quick bump on the system, but that was it. The folks in the Northeast and the Midwest, however, there was 68,000 megawatts of generating capacity that went offline during that blackout within a 30-minute period. Santee Cooper has 5,000 megawatts, which is about 68,000 megawatts of power that went out at 4:11 on August the 14th. And New York City went black. So that just shows the importance of electricity on our economy.
And what do you think's been the industry's response to the collapse of the system?
I think that what we will see, Greg, is that when it all said and done, and a lot of studies being done now, a lot of investigation by the Department of Energy, by the Federal Energy Regulatory Commission, and I think what they're going to see is that there was transmission issues. The transmission wires that run along the highways, the big wires that carry the power from the generator to the distribution systems, those major lines, there's been very little investment over the last 15 years in transmission throughout the country. Most of it's been on the generation side of the business. So I think what we're going to find is that we need to spend more money on transmission. We need to upgrade the system. And the systems are being asked to provide more stability than they were before. So I think investment in transmission is going to be the answer.
Are you involved in efforts to prevent a recurrence, Graham? We think about yourself having left as CEO of Santee Cooper, gone into consultancy fashion, helping utilities around the country. I'm sure tons of folks are calling on you.
We have people that are involved from Santee Cooper, but also I serve on a board out in Indianapolis, Indiana, that is a Midwest Independent System Operator company that is basically the transmission company for the entire Midwest part of the country, which was impacted as much as the Northeast was. So from that perspective, I'm involved as a board member in trying to ensure that this does not happen again. How can we correct it and make sure we take preventive measures?
Graham, can you share real quick with the viewers your role as chairman of the board of Santee Cooper as it relates to strategic planning going forward? Are you involved in that sense, or is it just to help oversee the current goings-on of the company?
Craig, I think that the board's role at Santee Cooper is a policy-setting board, and we're responsible to ensure that we have a qualified executive staff in place that has the resources, financial as well as other resources, to carry out the goals and objectives of the organization. Executive management does the strategic planning with input from the board, and of course the board is involved in that process. But we're not in day-to-day operations. We're more from a policy-setting perspective.
That's very important. When we think about the excitement of having some representation, of course there's a 1st Congressional District representative, as well as yourself from the 1st Congressional District, albeit you're at large. Very exciting to know that we have, there is some recognition on the board through the area.
But also there's a member from Horry County and a member from Georgetown County on the board as well. So really the Grand Strand area has 4 of us right now that is looking after the interest of the Santee Cooper customers.
Absolutely. Graham, obviously the big focus is in 2 weeks. October 15th to the 17th, Santee Cooper is holding the 12th annual South Carolina Environmental Symposium. What's the purpose of this program, and why is Santee Cooper a leading sponsor of it?
Well, Santee Cooper has always taken a leadership role in environmental issues. We have various environmental initiatives. This is just one of them. Another one is the Green Power Project that we have in conjunction with Horry County Solid Waste Authority. We have 3 generators out at the landfill where we're capturing the methane gas of the that's being produced by the decomposing trash, and we're harnessing that and we're running it through the turbines and generating electricity with it. It's a smart thing to do. It's the right thing to do. It's right for the environment. It's right economically, and it's a win-win situation. We also host a environmental essay contest for 7th graders throughout the state of South Carolina on an environmental topic, and we award from each congressional district a winner and then an overall statewide winner. So to get young people involved, the education side involved in environmental issues. The symposium was just an extension of that, to say how can we bring business, government, and environmentalists together to talk about the issues and not take our own positions and fight about it. Let's come together and see how we can solve these issues in a business-like way. And it really is all the 3 constituencies: business, government, and environmentalists.
And there's a possibility that Governor Sanford's going to be down.
We hope he has been invited. We're not sure exactly what his schedule is going to be, but the Governor's Pollution Award will be presented, and we hope that Governor Sanford will be able to make it and join us for that event.
He's got a very busy schedule. And of course, in mid-October, with so many other things going on, it's amazing. Just the excitement of knowing that he's interested in supporting it, and has been for years.
It's a great time, and Governor Sanford has always been supportive of environmental issues. And this year, shaping the future of South Carolina, we have a great agenda set that is being laid out, and I think that everyone that will be attending will find something of interest.
Graham, who else is sponsoring this event aside from Santee Cooper?
There's a whole list of sponsors, but the ones that really got it started was Santee Cooper, University of South Carolina, South Carolina Department of Health and Environmental Control, the Sierra Club, National Wildlife Federation, International Paper Company is a sponsor. So we have about 15 sponsors that have come on board and and feel like that this is an important enough issue that they step up and become a part of it.
Graham, I know you mentioned earlier when the interview started that this was really the brainchild of John Rainey. Can you share with the viewers real quick a little bit about John and then how exactly the symposium really got started?
Sure. John, he is an environmentalist, but John is a environmentalist that also recognizes that you got to be able to afford a quality environment, and you can't price yourself out and not be able to afford it. So he's always said you got to balance those parts of your life. And John, this was one of his brainchilds, and it has been very successful, and we continue it, even though he's not a part of Santee Cooper anymore. But this is something that will be around for a long time, which is a tribute to him.
Graham, who attends the symposium, and what can participants gain from the meeting?
Sure. Well, like I said, members of the business community, government community, as well as environmental community attend. We limit it to 250 participants, and before, I guess, the after tomorrow, the 3rd of October, if you register before that, it's $75. If you register after that, it's $125. The participants are responsible for their own accommodations, of course, but it will be held at Spring-Maid Beach Resort this year, and we're very pleased with that and having it along the Grand Strand here. For the participants, what we want to do is not just have presentation, but we want to get dialogue and get people engaged in conversations about their own feelings, about what they have done within their organizations to solve certain issues. And we always learn more from others and engaging in that conversation. And we will have panel discussions, we will have formal presentations on air quality issues, on water quality issues, on wetland issues, on energy issues. So it'll be on legislative issues, and representatives in the General Assembly will be with us to talk about what they're doing and what their agenda is from an environmental perspective. Then you have folks from the Sierra Club that will be involved from their perspective. So you're able to understand a little bit from where the other person's coming from and what their issues are and what their perspectives are. And it really has been a very valuable tool in helping to shape environmental issues, legislation, and policy over the last 12 years.
How exciting. And this is something that viewers would be practically interested in.
Sure, I agree. And the environmental issues are becoming a bigger and bigger part of our life, especially along the Grand Strand here when you look at all the wetland issues.
And you said $75 if folks registered in the next 48 hours by Friday. And who would they want to contact if someone was interested in attending or getting more information?
Sure, Gray. They can go to Santee Cooper website, santeecooper.com, right. And or they can call a lady, Mary Rudloff, at Santee Cooper. She is located in Moncks Corner, and be glad to give that number. It is, of course, area code 843-761-8000, extension 5796.
Okay, great. 843-761-8000, extension 5796, and that's Mary Rudloff.
Correct.
Okay, and I'm so glad you mentioned the South Carolina General Assembly and some of the legislators that'll be there potentially, as well as just Sierra Club, so many others that'll be there. But why is the General Assembly included in the symposium agenda, and how does the legislative body impact the environment, Graham?
Well, I mean, they set the laws, the environmental laws in this state, and of course, DHEC and Department of Natural Resources carry out that legislation and the laws and enforce the laws. So they are a critical part of this whole discussion, because that's where it starts, is with the laws that guide the environmental issues going forward. So they're a key part of this whole discussion.
What is this year's theme, Graham, for the 12th Annual Environmental Symposium? And I think you said it'll be held at Spring-Maid Beach, Spring-Maid Pier?
That's correct. It'll be held at Spring-Maid Beach Resort, and it's shaping the environmental future for the 21st century. And we have some great speakers, and I think that the public would find it very interesting. And more so, I think they will find it interesting and comforting to know that people are addressing these complex issues.
Yes, yes. You laid out some of the folks who'd be attending potentially. Of course, the aspect, again, of the Sierra Club and legislators and others, obviously getting business owners. I don't know if there's yet a keynote speaker. Of course, the hope of getting Governor Sanford down. How about some of the topics and concerns to be addressed on the program?
Sure. The keynote speaker we have this year is a gentleman I think people will find very interesting, Storm Cunningham. Oh. He is out of Alexandria, Virginia, and he is an ex-Green Beret and an underwater medic was his training in from a military perspective.
Wow.
But he is an environmentalist. He is an environmental consultant, has written several books, and he has a company that works with businesses and communities in how to restore their communities from an environmental perspective and take it forward and grow it from an environmental perspective. So I think his thoughts and ideas and comments will be very valuable to the participants.
And some of the other topics and concerns addressed during the program?
Sure. There will be a lot of it will be panel discussions where we'll have people from DHEC, from Department of Natural Resources, from businesses such as BMW that will be talking about environmental issues from their perspective, whether it be water, air, wetlands, energy, and also just the quality of life issues. There's a session on quality of life. Right. Again, it's one of those things that the three constituencies, business, government, and environmentalists coming together to talk about these issues.
When you think about the importance for South Carolinians, as well as both Carolinas, this has practicality both for South Carolina as well as North Carolina.
It does, and it really it has practicality for the entire country and the world. We do live in a global economy, and it's not just South Carolina, but it's the world. And if we can leave a better tomorrow for our children, our grandchildren, then we have an obligation to do it.
Graham, why is it important for Carolinians to keep a watchful eye on the environment as we strive to expand our economic and commercial base?
Yeah, I think it's important that we grow the economy in an environmentally sensitive way. Now, from my perspective, you're not going to be able to solve all the environmental issues that are out there. However, as long as we're aware of what they are, we can try to structure our business to best accommodate those within a financially feasible environment. You're not going to be able to grow the business and grow the state and keep all the environmental issues satisfied, and that's where you got to balance it. And that's what I've always said, and that's what we're trying to do.
I know you talked about some of the concerns that folks would have both along the Grand Strand as well as throughout the PD. When you think about that, obviously we hear about wetlands and the property development and so much development going on along the Strand. This is an issue that everyone really needs to be thinking about.
Everyone, because it impacts not just wetlands and developers. It impacts Georgetown Steel. It impacts International Paper. It impacts Santee Cooper. We're a coal-burning utility. We make emissions into the atmosphere. So we need to be sensitive to that, but yet no, we can't make electricity so expensive that you can't afford to turn your lights on. So that's why I say you got to balance it. But also, small customers should be concerned about it as well. And just it's the right thing to be looking at is to balance the economy with the environment.
And these are practical ideas that will be explained, Graham. Is this stuff that can be implemented now, or is this stuff thinking about the next generation?
I think both. I think there are issues that are current issues that are that will be talked about both legislatively as well as from a business standpoint. But also we need to be thinking not just about tomorrow. We need to be thinking about 10, 20, 30 years from now, and what will the impact be on the environment under certain scenarios. We need to protect that as much as we can.
Graham, we've got 3 minutes. What's the technology fair?
I appreciate you bringing that up. What we have an opportunity for participants to bring technology that is environmentally related, companies that have environmental products. If they want to bring them and demo them at the conference, they can register to do that, and we encourage them to do that. And there are a lot of environmental companies within the state of South Carolina that can have products that they can display here.
If someone signs up by Friday, the $75 registration fee, what will that include?
That will be for the conference itself. It will be for there will be a couple of meals that will be provided for that, but it's mainly to provide some expenses for administrative costs and for a keynote speaker and for some of those type of expenses. Right. It's not for lodging. Each individual will be responsible for their own travel-related expenses. Okay.
Graham, you were with us about 3 weeks ago, and I know before that, 3 months before that. Obviously, as your role as co-chair of the Heart Walk, there's so many folks within Santee Cooper. Names that come to mind, Jill Watts. I think we talked about Jill, who was with us a few months back, who served as general chairman of the United Way for Horry County. We think about men like Jack Monroe. He and his wife Margot committed so much. What is it about Santee Cooper working in that extended family that really makes you want to get out and give back like you're doing now?
Well, Greg, I think you and I have talked about this before. It really is a family environment at Santee Cooper, and they realize what family means. And you got to help. And I don't think there's anybody that has not been touched in some way, either directly or indirectly through a family member or someone they know, that has not been impacted by heart-related disease. And it's not just heart-related disease, but it's all community activities. We strive at Santee Cooper to give back where we live and work. And I commend the employees for doing that. And I commend management for continuing to encourage that. And they do encourage participation within the community.
Graham, if you weren't chairman of the board of Santee Cooper, what do you think you'd be doing?
Good question.
Ask us why.
Probably a few more honeydews for my wife.
No.
But no, I will be involved in something. I will always be involved in some type of community activity or serving on a board or something. I can't sit back. Also playing a little bit more golf. So.
Yes, yes. The focus is not on playing more golf, but on giving back to the community. Part of a large family at Santee Cooper for 23 years, the last 7+ years at the helm. Now back as chairman of the board and committing so much to the 12th Annual American Heart Walk in memory of Ashby Ward, and now to the 12th Annual South Carolina Environmental Symposium, making a commitment to the community, truly. Graham Edwards, thanks so much for being with us this morning.
Great. Thank you very much for the opportunity and appreciate what you do for the community as well.
Oh, golly, very small. Stay tuned to more Carolina People coming up next. We want to thank Graham Edwards of Santee Cooper and all the other sponsors for helping make the 12th Annual South Carolina Environmental Symposium a great success.